We discussed before about computing applications. What's the definition of computing applications? What kind of softwares are kind of identified or sorted under the umbrella of computing applications? We discussed a little bit that MATLAB, SolidWorks, Minitab, and all of those are considered computing applications. Computing applications could go up to either mathematical applications, physical problems, engineering problems, could be a 3D design analysis, it could be statistical analysis, and all of that. And I believe, I'm not sure if the library had the book yet or if you got it online. So make sure you get one for yourself so that you can, whatever you feel you missed in the class, you can go through it. That's that. And for today, we're gonna explore MATLAB. We will talk a little bit about how to use MATLAB for arithmetic equations and how to assign variables, how to include some mathematical functions using MATLAB. We will talk a little bit about functions and commands. We will talk how to allocate vectors in MATLAB. And hopefully, I will confirm with you if you had linear equations and maybe implement some linear equations while we're exploring MATLAB. I'll start with asking you how many of you have the MATLAB on your machine, or let's say the computer in front of you having MATLAB on it. For today, I'm gonna give you now a link so that you go into it and use the MATLAB online. So MATLAB generously made a MATLAB online, like the same as what you see as installing on the computer. But the problem with this MATLAB is limited being online. There's not all the powerful tools to do some calculations and to include the equations in it, but it's gonna teach you probably what we're gonna cover today. So if you go to your, whoever doesn't have MATLAB or would like to know what's going on, you can go to Google and type in MATLAB online. That's the first thing we gotta do. Let's search for MATLAB online. You will see a MathWorks link. MathWorks is the company made MATLAB. So if you search, let's spend only 5 minutes here. We don't want to stick so much here because we have a lot to cover. Yeah. So mathworks.com, I believe you can see my browser here.
Yes.
Okay, so mathworks.com, if you just search on Google MATLAB online, he should lead you here. Then you create an account with MathWorks. Here I'm creating using my Gmail, not my university, because in university I have a license. Then you say start using MATLAB. You have 20 hours a month to use MATLAB online. As I mentioned, I promise you, you'll be fine for today's lecture. Probably in the future, he's not gonna be very useful for you. But like right now, in the time being, create an account if you don't have one already and start using MATLAB. Then you should be able to see the MATLAB, like open MATLAB online. So we will start with arithmetics. So of course, you know all the mathematics about arithmetics, how to add numbers, subtract numbers, divide numbers, multiply, and all of that. Now we want to try to use MATLAB to do that exactly, but through the MATLAB power. So we are trying through those simple forms, nothing complicated here, to let you have confidence in the tool of MATLAB and how strong it can be and how we're going to use it. So now we will introduce a little bit to the MATLAB environment. I'll share the MATLAB screen with you. Then we will type in 2 plus 3 in MATLAB, followed by enter, and see what's gonna go. So this way we're good. So before we talked a little bit that we have, this is the main screen for MATLAB that I believe you can see right now. Then here you have your home, plots and apps. Forget about plots and apps for now. For your home, you can create a new script, which means you can create a new workspace where you can start typing in whatever script or whatever code, if you will, or whatever equation you want the MATLAB to solve it for you. Another thing, you gotta create your directory. The first time you open your MATLAB, he's gonna ask you for directory where you want your programs being saved on and what is the directory being used. For now, it's not a concern because you're not creating a lot of programs that are depending on each other, but as moving in the course, directory is important. So the main screen is command window over here. That's where you see the letter, like you see FX, then you see two greater signs. That's your command line. That's where you start to write your command. And we call this as a command window over here. Then you have your workspace. It's another important space to keep your eye on while working with MATLAB in this workspace, that's where he will show you any assigned variable. Like after we finish arithmetics, we're going to go to variables. You got to assign variable A with a certain value, variable C, variable X, variable Y. Then you can see those values, because as you are moving forward with the code, you don't remember anymore what is the current value for that variable. So that could be handy. Creating matrix or matrix as moving forward, you need to know what is the matrix name and be able to look at the values of each matrix. So for now, as you saw in the presentation, we're gonna do 2 plus 2 with MATLAB. So please go ahead and open your MATLAB and let's do it together, because the next one I'm gonna give you numbers and you're gonna plug it in as well while sharing the screen with us. So now, having 2 plus 2, should I just put 2 plus 2 or should I have a certain line of code before that? Me, the first time I saw MATLAB, I thought, because I was learning before C code, I was learning Java as you did, I was learning other Python and other languages. You always need to have a header and a footer for the program before you write anything. Well, the beauty of MATLAB, it's almost, I'm gonna try 2 plus 2, then I hit enter. If you have a numpad on your keyboard, you can do that. If you have a laptop only, the enter in the middle of your keyboard will do it. Now 2 plus 2, he told you ans equal 4. I'm going very simple here. If some of you saw that before, I apologize ahead of time, but I want to make sure everybody is aware of what's going on the screen. Ans means answer, same as your scientific calculator if you used one before. So ans equal 4, so that's your answer, means 2 plus 2 equals 4. Let's try together 6 plus 20 and hit enter. We get the answer of 26. Now notice on the right hand side, the workplace or the workspace, ans is 26. He's telling you what is the current value of ans. In this case, it is 26. What if we do 5 minus, well, early, 5 minus 3, that would give you 2. You can notice here the answer is changing. So whatever value being assigned to the answer is followed by the last value that you had. Like you had answer here 4, but when you move to 26, the answer started to be 26. Then now it is 2. Now who is willing to volunteer and share his screen to show us how to do 10 minus 12? So when we do 2 plus 3, you get 5. I believe you can see my presentation. Let's go to the next one. Now, another thing to go through, what if, let's say you had 15 plus 20 minus 30? Then you realize, oh, I don't want to do that. I want 12 plus 15 plus 30. How to change that? 10, I'm sharing now my MATLAB, so you're able to see my command line. Wherever you're writing with those two greater than arrows, that's your command line, that's your active line. Now 10 plus 15 minus 30, what if I don't want the minus? How to change it? Can I change it? You can either move through your arrows right and arrows left to let your editing blinker reach to that point and do a backspace, delete it, and plug in whatever operational mark you want to use, like in this case plus. That's one way. So you go in your arrows back and forth until you reach the point where you want to delete that thing and change the operator, like 10 minus 15. Maybe I don't want 10, maybe I want 15 minus 15 plus 30, and so on. So I can do that with no problem. MATLAB made it very easy for us to do it this way. Then when you are sure about your expression, you can go ahead and hit enter. Then you get your final result. Let's try to do these together. Let's do 3 minus 2 and hit enter. Then we do 2 plus 3 and hit enter. Then we divide 1 over 2. In case somebody is wondering, that's not like 0.5. That's, he's trying to divide 1 over 2. Hit enter. Then now we have 2 to the power of 3. Anybody know how to do that? If you can't, you can skip it. We will learn about it now. Then try 2 divided by 11. Okay, let me write it here since I'm gonna jump out of my presentation. So we do it together. So we said, I believe you already did that, 3 minus 2. You hit enter. Now, what if I want to multiply 2 multiplied by, of course, multiply shift by star. That will give you multiplication. By 3, 2 by 3, that's 6, as we know in mathematics. Matlab is giving you in no time 6. Now, divide 1 over 2. He told you it is 0.500. Now, we have 2 divided by 11. So 2 and the division mark over 11. That would give you 0.1818. You can confirm that either through your PC calculator, or you can confirm that by your calculations by hand to make sure Matlab is doing what he should be doing. So far Matlab is working for us as a calculator. Let's try to have 1 over 2, and we have 2. We can read it this way, 2 to the power of 3. So when you have 2 with this mark, then 3, that is telling you, or telling Matlab, to find 2 to the power of 3. If you didn't do that, we will do that together. Then I would ask you after that, how do you think Matlab would handle if you divide 0 over 1? And how Matlab would handle it if you divide 1 over 0? Another thing, now the screen is full. I would love to have it be cleared again. What I'm gonna do, you can either clear command window, okay, that way, or let's say you put stuff, you put a lot of stuff, let's say 2 plus 5, then you put 3 plus 6, then your screen is full again. There's another abbreviation to do that through command, is by typing CLC. So it's like clear command space, you can call it this way. If you hit CLC, then enter, that will clean your command view. But the beauty about CLC, your answer, final answer, keeping the value. There is another command that we call it clear, or we use clear workspace, that we're gonna clear all the values related to the answer or any variables you declared previously. Now, if we hit 2 and try to give it a power, let's see if I get it here. So 2 to the power of 3. Of course, now you know you can jump using your arrows right and left. Let's use it exactly as the presentation. 2, then this mark is used when you want to give to a certain power, mathematical power, like 2 cube. So in this case, 2 to the power of 3, hit enter, you got 8. 2 to the power of 3, mathematically, we know it's 2 by 2 by 2, that will give you 8. What if we do it the way I did it at first? What if I did 2 to the power of 3 directly? That's going to give you as well 8. So parentheses are not always important. While sometimes maybe you want to say 2 multiplied by 3, all to the power of 3. This case, parentheses are important. You can do it either this way, or so this way, or we can do it 2 multiplied by 3 to the power of 3. Either way would work. Now let's clear the screen again, CLC. Let's assign values to variables so that we can do arithmetic operations with these variables. So now let's together type in, after I finish this presentation, I'm going to go to Matlab and redo it, but you can do it right now. Type in A equal 2. Then you hit enter, as you can see here. You can see in your workspace that A gets the value of 2. You can see A and you can see 2 to the right of it. That's one thing we're going to try together. I'm going to show you now. Then try as well to say, now you assign the value of 2 for A. Let's try A equal A plus 7. Now we start to write some equations. and see what would the value or the answer would be in that case. Afterwards, try to plug in a equals a multiplied by 10. Now, what is the final value of a? Can you tell me?
I got 90.
Okay, so we had a equal 2, then a equal a plus 7, because now the value of a so far is 2. So a would equal 2 plus 7, that's 9. Then a would equal still the last value of a, which is 9, my 10, that's 90. That's true. For whoever not having MATLAB in front of him. So a equals, we said we want it to equal to 2. You can observe here, forget about the answer. Here we have a equals 2. That's how you know what is the current value of a. This value will keep changing as we're adding more equations. MATLAB will take the recent value you assigned to a and put it in here as a value. That's something to keep in mind. So now a equals, as we said, a plus 7. What does it give you? It gives you 9, and you can realize in the workspace the current value of a is 9. Now, I want a to equal a multiplied by 10. So a multiplied by 10, that would give you the value of a to be 90, and you can realize here the value of a is 90. Now, what if we did b to equal 2 multiplied by a? So now we create the value, a variable a. It was 2, but we gave him a newer equation using a. So the value of a became 9, then the value of a multiplied by 10 became 90. So now the value of a today, right now at this moment, is 90. Now, if we say value of b would equal 2 multiplied by a, what would be the value of b? The current value of a multiplied by 2, right? So b would equal 2 multiplied by, what is the current value of a? We can see here it's 90. 2 by 90. You hit enter, that gives you 180. And you can realize always on the workplace or the workspace that a is 90 while b is 180. So far we know how to assign a certain value to a certain variable. Everybody's good with that? I just want to make sure I'm not going very fast or very slow, so I make sure you guys are following up. So this is an important topic, how to assign values to a variable. A, B, you can call it X, you can call it Y, you can call it Z. Like I can say X equals 1. That would be the value of X, the recent value of X, plus the recent value of Y. That would be 3. So 1 plus 2 is 3. You can see, so what if we assign, now we assigned A, B, and C values. We didn't assign C value, we assigned A, B, X, and Y, and Z. All of these have values. How to confirm? By the workspace. Now C doesn't have a value. What if I say Z equals 2 multiplied by C? What do you think gonna happen? Like, we didn't identify C anywhere here. Or, you know, let's keep it simple. Let's have Z to equal C. Would it say undefined factor, like we don't know what C is? Or would it give C the value of Z, which is 3? What do you think? Okay, go ahead.
It gave me, when I did z equals c, it just says unrecognized function.
Exactly. So even though Z equals C by mathematics is exactly C equals Z. Since Z is 3, why he don't assign C as 3? The thing is, which variable you put first matters with MATLAB. So you gotta be careful about which variable you use first. So the more, go back to MATLAB. So the more you go forward with MATLAB, the more you know these tricks. So sometimes your code is perfect, but like there is something not going well. Could be as simple as that. You just switch those variables. What if we try to say C equals Z? He gave it 3. See, so the order is important. It's stupid, you know. You can be smarter than that, but That's coding. Sometimes you gotta follow what the machine wants. You gotta give it to her bit by bit so that the machine will be able to understand what you're talking about. To be honest, evaluating other coding softwares and languages, MATLAB is considered one of the easiest one. It's too close to the spoken language and the written language. So you will not have problem with that. If you had C code before, or if you had C sharp, or if you had Python, you know that you gotta have a starting code and an ending code and in between and so on. Sometimes we will get closer to C code in some expressions, but not always the case. MATLAB is considered an easy language, but powerful in the same case. It's like kind of a gigantic genius calculator, if you will. Back to our presentation. So now we know the value of A being 90. Now we already did, giving the value, the B, the value of 3. Now what does this semicolon mean? This semicolon is giving you the option to declare other variables following that expression. In other words, let's clear the screen. Remember again, CLC, or you go up here to clear command, you'll be able to clear the screen without losing your values. Clearing workspace, you will lose your values. We will try that. But before we do that, what if we said B equals, okay, keep it V equals 12. Now, what if I want to say D equals to, I don't want to go another line. I don't want to hit enter. Semicolon, that's what you call it. So you can continue with another value. Like you can't say D equal to, then you say E equals 6, just like that, without having semicolon. So semicolon, as if you hit enter, then you start a new line. That's the whole purpose of it. Sometimes you gotta write one line of code and be able to identify it. So in this way, you can see D equal 2. You can see here D equal 2, E equals 6. What if we said D equal 2, then give it a space, E equal 8 or 9. See, he said invalid expression. Check for missing multiplication operator. It means he assumed between the D equal to, like D or E, there should be some expression in between. Otherwise, if you want to write stuff after it, you gotta have a semicolon so that you can continue with the new expression. It's like giving a new line in the backstage of the MATLAB. And we already one step ahead. We already assigned x equal 2, y equal 3. You can try it on your own right now. So x equal 2, we don't want to go another line and hit y equal 3. Let's have x equal 2, semicolon, then we have y equal 3, hit enter. Now you assign the value of 2 to x and you assign the value of 3 to y. Now if you say z equals x plus y, what would be the final value in this case? You should see it in MATLAB. I mean, whatever MATLAB told you. Anybody? What z is showing you?
I got 5.
Okay. Is there any errors, any mistakes, any notes from MATLAB? I believe no. So now
Yeah, I don't.
Go ahead.
I don't see nothing.
All right, perfect. Now I think we're ready to move to mathematical functions. I believe you know from the name, mathematical functions, when you have y equals sine x, x equal cosine y equal tan x, and so on. Sometimes you use pi, sometimes you use the square root, sometimes you use the to the power or the log, and so on. All of those are mathematical functions. Anybody is not aware of mathematical functions? I believe this has been covered in high school, but it depends on what high school you went to. So I just want to make sure everybody is comfortable. You know about pi, you know about square root. We are doing a lot of mathematics here. Nothing crazy. We're going with you step by step, but I want to make sure what I'm speaking about is not something new to you. I believe all of you know those expressions and functions. What if we want to find what is the value of pi in MATLAB? Let's try to write pi and hit enter, see what happens. Now, what if we want to try to do sqrt, and between parentheses, that will allocate as if you are writing square root of. any number you want, but in this case, we want what is the square root of pi. I'm going to walk you through this. I'm assuming you're trying to do that on your machine, then I'll do it in front of you on MATLAB. So if you write pi, pi, then enter, should be able to see the value of pi. Then if you hit sqrt, between parentheses, pi, then you close parentheses and hit enter, you'll be able to see what is the square root of pi. Try again, what is the square root of 9? sqrt, between parentheses, 9, should be able to get the value of 3. Now let's jump into trigonometrical functions, that's sine x, cosine x, and so on. Let's assign x a certain value in radians, then try to find the sign for that. So we mentioned pi. I believe you tried already pi. Pi. Hit enter. Then you try to write sqrt, between parentheses, pi. See what you get. I'm going to do it again on MATLAB for you. But for now, I'm waiting you to go ahead and do it yourself and see what happens. Then try to plug in trigonometric functions. Sine of x, in this case, I want you to put sin, between parentheses, 90. 90 is the degree in radians in this case. And see what you get. Then try to plug in cosine, open parentheses, cosine means cos, open parentheses, 180. Then close it and see what you get. And let's try to see sine 90 multiplied by pi over 180. That's the one we see over here. And see what you get. Eventually, we will have 1 over e. Then we see what we get. So whatever I told you to do, I'm going to redo it again. Well, you know what? We don't want these variables. They're going to confuse us. We're going to delete them. So now it's time to learn how to delete those. Either you hit clear workspace, okay? Or you write the word clear. It's going to clear the command window and clear the values associated with. That's the word clear, will clear everything for you. Keep that in mind. So pi, you say pi equals 3.1416. I was saying 1.7. I'm sorry, that's the square root of it. So what if we hit the sqrt? So sqrt, open parentheses, then you write the word pi. So you are trying to take the square root of pi. In this case, what he give you? He give you 1.7725. What if I want the square root of 9, as I mentioned to you? Hopefully you already did it. sqrt, open parentheses, hit 9, close parentheses, hit enter. That would give you 3. Mathematically, square root of 9 is accurately 3. Now, let's try to go to the sines and cosines. I want to try to find what is the sine of the radian angle 90. Close parentheses. That would give you 0.894. Now, what is the sine of the angle 60? That would give you minus 0.3048. You can confirm that with your scientific calculator as well. Then what if I want to find, same concept, cosine 180, close the parentheses, hit enter, that give you minus 0.5985. Okay, now let's try to, back to our MATLAB, let's try to write sine together, open parentheses, 90 multiplied by pi divided by 180. Forget about the sign. Here, what's going to happen? I believe this is a trick. You heard about it many, many times. So you have multiplication and you have division. Which going to go first here? Should we go, you think the program or the algorithm will go 90 multiplied by pi, then divide over 180? Or he gonna do pi divide by 180, then multiply by 90? You need to think through what the algorithm think to be able to know that the algorithm is delivering to you what you want it to deliver. You know, mathematically, go ahead.
Isn't it just going to do 90 times pi first?
That's right. So mathematically, as long as there's no parentheses, you go from left to right. 90 by pi over 180. While if you did the 90, multiplied by pi in parentheses by itself. You do the parentheses first, then you divide over 180. Just that's a side note to keep in mind. I'm sure you're going to face it many, many times moving forward. So let's hit enter, see what happens. He said the answer is 1. How about if we try to do sine 2 multiplied by pi? What we gonna get? Now sine, need to fix this. Remember, you use arrows to go back wherever you want to fix a typo. Open parentheses, close parentheses. What we're gonna get here? We're getting minus 2.4 to the power of minus 16. All is good here. Anybody have comments? I'm gonna clear the screen while keeping the values. Now let's try to, again, more practice, and I want you to be familiar with the software. Now we are in the very basic stuff. I want you to be familiar with it, how to type in stuff, how to delete stuff, how to edit it. So let's say pi equal 4 and hit enter. So delete all functions and variables. Let's try pi again. You see pi came back. It's hanging here. Forget about it. You should remove it. Pi, as it is by the program, is 3.1416. While if you say pi equals 2, now you override the 3.14, which is mathematically true. You override it with a new value. So try to avoid, give a value for a equals something, x equals something, y equals something, but never assign a value for pi or a value for a known thing in mathematics. Does that make sense, guys? You're following me? I'm trying here to clear the screen. Just that's what I want to comment over here on this topic. We have a lot of general functions. Sometimes we can try in MATLAB using date and using calendar. Those will give you what's the date today and what's the calendar. Then, as we mentioned, you use CLC, which is clearing your command window. And you can always use help to give you more insights on what kind of functions and coding equations you should use in a certain situation. And you can always go back to the MathWorks website and read more. There's tons of big community giving you a lot of help on things happened with people and having problem with. So you can expand your knowledge about MATLAB either now or as an engineer in the industry. Now, as we mentioned, we used the variables a and b. Those variables, we call them, as you know from your mathematics class, are scalars. So those values are single valued parameters, if you will. Then MATLAB as well can handle vectors. Vectors are usually, we call them arrays. So when you say a vector, there is a line going from point A to point B. Point A could be X and Y point, and point B could be another X2 and Y2 point. So in MATLAB, we're lucky that we can define vectors. We'll try to learn how to define vectors together. So let's start with x equal 0 to 10. Like 0, then 2 dots, then 10, and hit enter. Now let's try again to put size. So we have x equals 0 to 10, so that I can show it to you when we go back to the application. Then we have size. Try to write the word size of x. So now you are creating an array in a mathematical form. So array in a physical form, you go as an arrow from a line between points A1 and A2 and point B1 and B2. And you can go with array as well in mathematically, which is going like a column of values, if you will, same as what you see in Excel. So try to write in size of x and see what happens with you. Now, let's try to say y equals 2. Trying to write it down again so that I can show it to you. I believe you are typing in now y equals 2 multiplied by x. Then you define another parameter saying w equals y divided by x. And that dot, I'm going to explain it to you shortly. Then you have z equals sine of x and hit enter. Now let's do that together. I will go back. Okay. Now we're done with this. So you can see here, x is say 1 by 11 double. So you get an array out of 11 values from 0 all the way to 10. If you double click on x, what you're gonna see, you should see an array. You can see the array 1 and 1, similar to Excel. Then on 2, you get value of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You created a horizontal array, if you will, in this case. Now, let's have size x. That will tell me what is the size of this array. Sometimes I have too many arrays. I don't know what is the size of this array. Hit enter. He say, your array is 1 row and 11 columns. So he say answer is 1. Then he give you a dash 11. So he say your answer, your array is 1 row and 11 columns. As we saw by double clicking here, you can see that array as well. Now let's see, what if we say y equal 2 dot multiplied by x. This dot means multiply 2 by each value of the array x. So hopefully you guys still follow me. So we have an array. We create an array from 0 to 10. This array is horizontal array. It has 1 row, 11 columns, as we saw by double clicking here. Now I want each value in this array be multiplied by 2. How I do that? I say y equal to, y this case will handle the new array with the values multiplied by 2. That would be 2, then dot, multiplied by x. So multiply each value in the array x with the value of 2. Let's hit enter and see what happens. Now we got a new array, which is y. The array y is 1 row and 11 columns. And you can see the first value was 0, second value was 1 in x, right? Now it is 2, then 4, then 6. How to confirm? Double click here. You had the values in x array 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now the y array, how does it look like? 0, 2, 4, 6. So obviously each component of the x array been multiplied by 2 in this case. Now let's have w equals y dot over x. What does this do? Can anybody tell me? On the same concept of y equal, or you know what? I want to make it easy for you. So w equals 4 dot 4 dot divided by x. What does it do before I hit enter? Assuming you're seeing my MATLAB, this should divide each number in x array, like it will be 4 over each number in x array just by doing that. What's the need for the dot? To go on each number of the array and divide the 4 above that number, or here in this case, to multiply 2 by that number within the array. And that's what we get. Here we got infinity. I believe you know why, because we're trying to divide over 0, like 4 divided by 0, which is the first component in y and the first component in x as well. So that would give you infinity. Let's clear the screen. Everybody's clear on that? Okay. So now we know how to create arrays, and we know how to find the size of our array, either through the command size x or through double click on the workplace on the right hand side. Now we said the dot here will allow you to multiply 2 by each component of the array x, or divide it by each component of the array x as it is before the operation. Now let's try to write down this application here, or this script. X equals 0. So you go ahead, x equals 0 to 0.1 to 10. I'm going to explain to you what does that 0.1 means. Then you have y equals sine x, then semicolon, then you plot x and y. Now we're gonna start to learn how to plot something. Now, to explain that to you before I move to MATLAB, now you want to create an array. This array going from 0 to 10 as what we did in the first one. But in this case, he say with an increment of 0.1. So 0 to 10 with an increment of 0.1. That's how you can explain it. Then that's the x. For the y would equal sine of x. Like for each value of x, y would be the sine of x. Then semicolon means go another line. Now we want to plot. We have values for x and values for y. You have the array for x and array for y. You want to plot x and y. Then you have here a comma, then grid. It means show me a grid or show me boxes, same as the grids in your math notebook. Show me a grid and plot me the x and y. So we start with x equal 0. Shift and semicolon will give me 2. Increment 0.1 all the way to number 10. Now let's give it a semicolon. Again, in your arrows you can delete any typo. Now I will hit enter. You can see here, well, let's do it again. I want to clear the workspace first. So let's do it again. I can copy this as well, or I can rewrite it. So I just did Control C, copy, then Control V to paste it, hit enter. Now you got an array of x, which is going 1 row and 101 columns. So to increment from 0 to 10, you need 101 values to be able to reach 10. Now, what we go next, we want to define y. Y would equal the sine of x. We have 2 minutes before we conclude here. Hopefully you're doing that with me. Now, sine of x, we got the array for y. Now let's plot. So plot x and y. So x comma y. Close it. Then you give it a comma, then grid. That should be able to show you a plot right now. Wait a little bit. The program is loading so that he will be able to show you a plot of x and y. Remove this. So you can see plotting x array and y array would give you a figure called figure 1. We have a micro project for today. I need you to assign a value of 3 to the variable x on the command line. Then need you to tell me what is the square root of x, what is the cosine of the square root of x. Save that script in the following format: first name dash last name dash microproject1. It will be .m. That's the extension for the scripts you save. Your deadline will be the next lecture, and you are able to submit your work under microprojects. I'm gonna put down this microproject under your name in Microsoft Teams.